What's going on, Spurs fans? I am the Masked Spurs Nation 87, and here I have a special guest all the way from Corpus Christi, who is one of the diehard Spurs fans. Tom the Spurs Dude. What's going on, Tom?
Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on, everybody? Getting ready for the playoffs?
Oh man, look at me, man! I'm fired the hell up right now for tomorrow's game.
Oh,
I
yeah, man.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the Spurs and Clippers tomorrow. And not only is this the Spurs and the Clippers, but this is pretty much a rematch from 3 years ago when the Spurs faced them during the lockout. So my first question to you, Thomas, is what do you think the outcome will be? I mean, like, what is it that the Spurs need to strategize on how they can beat the Clippers?
Well, anytime the Spurs go up against the Clippers, you expect the Clippers to put up a good fight. Normally, they play very good against the Spurs, especially between the Kawhi Leonard, especially with the Tony Parker matchups with Chris Paul, and Tim Duncan going up against Blake Griffin. The matchups they're very evened out. You just have one team that's very athletic. The Clippers are a run, almost like a fast break team where they like to score in transition. If the Spurs can limit their transition, they can hold the Clippers from scoring. Anytime you hold a team, if you make a team that likes to run full court, you make them play half court basketball. That'll prevent them from scoring in bunches. And it always starts on the defensive end. You want to get your stops first, and then you'll score off those stops. But also limiting turnovers is also a big key. The Spurs just have to move the ball, just like they do against any other team, and play Spurs basketball, and try not to go one-on-one with these guys. A lot of teams, they want you to play one-on-one basketball because when you play one-on-one, you don't rely on your teammates as much, and they know that. So the thing is, you don't want to fall into that trap of trying to go one-on-one with everybody. Now, there's certain situations where you can go one-on-one. One of those situations can be when it's Kawhi Leonard going against Matt Barnes. Kawhi Leonard has an advantage to go one-on-one with him. All he has to do is do a post-up move on him, fade away, make the shot, get back on defense. And he can do that all game if they let him. And this series is going to be a good series. I think the Spurs will still win it, and I see Spurs in 6. I think it's going to be a very good series. I don't think it'll be a sweep, but I'm not saying. I think what the Spurs can do is their main goal should be is to win Game 1. Anytime you're on the road, you want to win Game 1. You want to try to at least win Game 1. If they can steal Game 1 from the Clippers, that'll put all the pressure back on the Clippers to win Game 2 because it becomes a must-win. And if the Spurs can do that, they'll have advantage. And also the Spurs, a lot of people look at their record this year and they were saying, oh, well, the Spurs weren't really a great road team. That may be the case, but more they had to go, they were playing and with all those injuries, they weren't themselves all season. So some of those losses are a result of that, of them just being out of rhythm. Even Tim Duncan talked about that during the Spurs interviews that I saw today, and he talked about that too. Yeah, we know we lost some games on the road this year, but that's just because we were not playing great at that time. We're still here, and they were even talking about, they wanted to beat the second seed, but at the same time, the Pelicans won that game, so they're to 6, and they said, you know what, we're gonna play anybody we have to start on the road. We just gotta take business. And the Spurs know they have to turn it up, and they normally do when it's the playoffs. So I expect the Spurs to win this series. But like I said, anytime you're playing a team like the Clippers, you want to limit transition points, you want to limit turnovers, and you want to play great defense against guys because they like to run, they like to throw alley-oop, have to stop them from doing that. And when you can stop that, you can pretty much beat the Clippers. But the Spurs will win because of their ball movement and their bench scoring. That's going to be huge in all these playoffs.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, all it takes is just for the Spurs team is just to play Spurs basketball, and it's the basic fundamental. Just passing the ball, just keep passing the ball until someone gets open. If someone's open, take the shot. And you know what? There have been a couple of times when I've seen Boris Diaw when he has the ball. At times he wants to take a shot, but then he just he freezes, and then it throws him off. So like he's trying to pass it to somebody else to take the shot, or he'll just just keep passing the ball. So on the deal with passing the ball, I mean, I know DL will be watching this, but I mean DL, if you have the ball and you're wide open, take the shot. Don't even hesitate. Just take the shot. That's all you got to do. I mean, even if you miss it, hey, at least you got a good open shot. But yeah, and you know what, right? And you know what, Thomas, you are right. And all this Spurs team has to do is just keep the Clippers out of the rhythm, because if they keep Chris Paul and Blake Griffin out of the rhythm, then pretty much the Clippers team, they'll pretty much eventually fall apart. And they won't get any energy, they won't get any confidence. And it's true, because if this Spurs team takes game one, all that pressure all that weight goes right on the Clippers' backs. I mean, and they're really gonna have to step up their game just in order to beat the Spurs. And at times, yes, the Clippers have given the Spurs trouble. But even when the Clippers have given the Spurs trouble, it's never stopped them for still trying to compete against the Clippers, no matter what the Clippers try to do. And yeah, what those lobs they do, yeah, that's what gets them going. That's their strength. But but at times, when they don't have their lobs, or they're just not in rhythm, I mean, that's one of the kryptonites. And another thing about this Spurs team, yes,
Yeah.
mainly in this series with the Clippers, it is going to be Spurs in 6. I know it's going to be Spurs in 6. Everyone says it's sweep, but it's not going to be a sweep. What happened 3 years ago happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and this is a different Clippers team that the Spurs are facing. Back then, that's when they had that Reggie. I think his name is Reggie Evans. I'm not sure what his last name is, but
Yeah.
every time they kept hiking him, he would always he would miss the free throw. So, and that's how smart that they got by just hiking him. They would find the player on the team who didn't shoot their free throws, was really crap at free throws, and just hacked him. They end up winning that series, so that's pretty smart. So I know we're gonna, and you know what? Speaking of hacking, I know we're gonna end up seeing a lot of hacking on DeAndre Jordan, because that dude he's a terrible free throw shooter. But at times when he shoots more free throws and only makes less than half of those, there has been at times where the Clippers go 9 or 10-0 or whatever. So I don't know. You know what? I want to know what your take on is. I mean, are the Spurs really going to use their strategy on hacking Jordan most of the time during this series?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I know the Spurs have normally done that in the past and even recently in some of the games they played the Clippers. But I think now DeAndre Jordan is kind of ready for them to do it. So I think the Spurs just have to be smart when they do it, because DeAndre Jordan, if you give him a lot of opportunities to shoot free throws, if you give him enough chances, he's gonna make some. So
Yeah.
depending on how he's shooting the free throws, if he's making them, you might not want to foul him. But if he's still missing them, then go ahead and still do it. But Pop normally strategizes pretty good against these teams, and I don't think it'll be any different this time around. As long as the Spurs just play their game, they probably won't have to worry about hacking DeAndre Jordan, as long as they're playing, Spurs basketball. And I think the key to this game would be try to get the lead early. Try to get the lead early, build a cushion, pull away from them, get stops, limit turnovers. The simple stuff is what wins games. A lot of times, players like to make the game a little more complicated than what it is, and really, it's really simple. If you limit your turnovers, if you get your rebounds, if you play defense, and you pass the ball efficiently, you'll win the game. And I think the Spurs just have to do that. For any team they go up against, they just have to continue to play Spurs basketball. That's what's going to win ball games. That's what's going to win the playoff series.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, and you know what? And when we talk about Spurs in 6, I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, this Spurs team, I mean, the keys that what they have to do in order to win the series, they do have to minimize their turnovers, because turnovers are the simplest turnover can turn the game around within an instant. You know that. I know that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. And another thing too, that the problem that the Spurs have had pretty much most of the season is their free throw shooting. I mean,
Yeah.
at like Tim Duncan, you look at Ginobili, even Kawhi Leonard. Those were maybe the three guys who were, oh man, they were just really off at the poor free throw shooting. And it's very rare, and especially from Ginobili, it's very rare when you see the Argentine warrior who has one of the most decent free throw shooting percentages in his entire career, and his free throw shooting percentage is just like, I mean, it's just Lord. I mean, and it's rare.
Yeah.
But ever since their last game against the Pelicans, hopefully now they use the off time that they had to work on the free throws, and just keep themselves into rhythm, and hopefully, man. And you know what, Thomas, the one guy that I know who has to be the man coming off the bench to give the Spurs that spark is Patty Mills, because Patty Mills was one of those guys from the NBA. The NBA Finals, from when the Spurs faced the Heat, he was the main guy who was coming off the bench with fire. I mean, he was making so much noise. He was making the shots. I mean, he gave the Spurs team the spark coming off the bench with him, Bellinelli, and Ginobili and Dio. And he is one of the guys. He has to be that guy to come off the bench. And yes, Ginobili is one of our other guys too, but Patty Mills has to be that guy coming out the bench, and Kawhi Leonard, as well as him being the starter. I mean, he has to be the main man for the starting five to be able to spark a fire for Parker, Green, Duncan, and if Splitter comes back tomorrow too. Even though Splitter doesn't come back tomorrow, I mean, we still got Aaron Baines, and Aaron Baines, he's been really decent this past season. I mean, his numbers in points per game and rebounds, I mean, they've gone up a little bit. I mean, he's there. I mean, he's doing on his game a lot more, and that shows a lot. That shows a lot right there. And that should like really give him a lot more confidence than normally as he had before, because I know Pop didn't really play much, and I really hope Pop uses it more. We really need everyone everyone on the team to step up and score and do what you got to do. And I got Spurs at 6, because I think it's going to be one of those games where Kawhi Leonard probably might have a game where they take him off his game, or even Tony Parker. And I guess that's where the Clippers just come in and they just fire at the Spurs, and they just But and also why I say in Spurs 6 also is because I think we're going to see like big time competitiveness from both teams, especially the Clippers, because we know the Clippers are a tough team. But if they can hold down the Clippers throughout the series, maybe Just maybe. It may be Spurs in 5, but I'm holding. But my prediction is still Spurs in 6. So, like I said, all this
Yeah.
team has to do is just, like you said, just minimize, keep those turnovers at a minimum.
Hmm.
Win the rebounding game. Just be aggressive on defense, and just try to get the other team like maybe give them foul trouble at least. And at the Spurs, like if they can get at a really good lead, let the bench take over because the bench is also, one of the reasons why the Spurs, are finally winning games. I mean, like how they're getting back into rhythm. So the bench has
Yeah.
really been productive for the team. But what is your take on this?
Oh yeah. Just like I said earlier, I think the Spurs will win it in 6-2, and I think everything I said before. Just going back to playing Spurs basketball, and we just got to do the things that got us. I know this year was a weird season because we just kept bouncing from second to sixth to fifth to fourth. We just
Yeah,
and I always tell people, but you can't judge the Spurs on the record because they have so much experience. You just have to know that they're the Spurs and that they can win anywhere. Even Jamal Crawford, they asked him the other day, with the Spurs playing on the road, did they think they had an advantage over them? And Jamal Crawford said, hey, they're still the Spurs. They can play anywhere. You can put them on Mars. So they're not going to really change. It's the Spurs will always be the Spurs.
yeah. The Spurs are always in the Spurs no matter what. Even if Duncan's not here or Jamobi's not here or Parker, the Spurs are always still going to be the Spurs. And you know what? Speaking about interviews, I want to know your comment about Russell Westbrook when they asked him that if he was rooting for the Spurs to beat the Pelicans just in order for just for the Thunder to make it to the playoffs. I want to know what your take on that was when Westbrook was dissing the Spurs like that.
Well, yeah, obviously, Russell Westbrook was upset, because he knew that at that time it was going to come down between the Pelicans and the Thunder, and other reporters were asking him was he going to root for the Spurs just for that game in particular? Now, obviously, they didn't mean every game; they just meant that one game. And Russell Westbrook, had he been a humble person, all he had to say was, "Yeah, I kind of do hope they win that game." He could have just said, "Yeah, it'd be great if they win that game, but we can control our own destiny." He could have just said that. Instead, he wanted to be arrogant. He wanted to sound like an idiot, and say, "No, I'm not gonna root for the Spurs. No, I'm not gonna do that." Um, and it wasn't. It's not what he said, but it's how he said it. And maybe it wouldn't have hurt him to say something, positive. But the Pelicans still won. And who's to say the Spurs didn't lose that game on purpose? Because it's as if they did.
Yeah, it was like,
I looked at that game and it's like the Spurs weren't really trying against the Pelicans. I mean, all the times that they played the Pelicans, they've always been really good games. And just the one game that matters most, and all of a sudden they just don't show up for it. Way. And I'm pretty sure they heard Westbrook's comments. Um, so you never know. In the back of their head, they probably were thinking, "Hey, this guy wants to be an asshole. We'll treat him as such." And that's all it took. I'm pretty sure that going into that game, they knew, hey, if the Pelicans win this game, they're making the playoffs, and the Thunder ain't. And I'm pretty sure they heard. I mean, this is the 21st century. It's 2015. Everything's on smartphones. Everything's on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Everybody can see everything nowadays. There's nothing hidden anymore. If you say something, it's going to be heard. whether it's visible or whether it's audio or just plain, a tweet. Um, you're gonna see it or you're gonna hear it. So in this day and age, players can't get away with saying anything because it's online very fast. So all he had to say was, instead of saying no, I'm not gonna root for them, he could have just said, hey, well, yeah, I hope they kind of win. That would help us out. Anything will help us out at this point. But it just didn't turn out the way he wanted it to turn out, and I know he on the scoring, he didn't really even care about that because, he kind of knew at the end it didn't matter once they were eliminated from the playoffs. So, I mean, sometimes it's karma.
Yeah, and I think with that loss from the Spurs that the Pelicans gave the Spurs, to me, I really think that the Spurs probably did lose, just so that way it would just throw like a big middle finger to Westbrook after the comment.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, and you know what? And that's true, Thomas. I mean, you got to learn how to choose you need to learn how to choose your words carefully, because when moment that you say what you say and you can't take it back, it's gonna come back to bite you in the ass, and we all know that.
Yeah.
So hopefully Westbrook will learn next time to be a little bit more classy, more humble than to be a damn jerk off than the way he was.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Yeah, he could have answered it a lot more better than that. But, he's like that with a lot of reporters. But, you just have to learn to say things. All he had to do was, if he didn't have anything good to say, all he had to do was just say, you know what, no comment. Why couldn't he have said no comment? If they ask you a question like that, just say no comment. If you don't want to answer it, no comment. But instead he wanted to be a total asshole
Yeah.
and look like a Ninja Turtle, and he got eliminated. And I know when the Spurs are trying, and I know when there ain't. And damn it, they weren't trying against those Pelicans. Because any other day of the week, they tear their wings right off of them.
Oh man, yeah. The fruity pebble looking turtle ninja looking dude. I mean, he got what he deserved. So I mean,
Yeah.
even without Durant and Ibaka, and even if the Spurs beat the Pelicans, maybe the Thunder would have had a shot. Maybe, but the Warriors are too much for the Thunder. They're way too much for the Thunder. I mean, the Warriors are a good team. Don't get me wrong, but all that team is just Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Now, if any of those guys were to be injured, or God forbid, because I don't, like I said, I don't wish injuries at any type of injury at all on any player, because I want that player to be healthy and ready, so they can give a team like some serious competition. But if any of those guys were to even fall, or even both of them were out with injuries, they would just be just another team. That's all they would be.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it weren't for those two guys, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs right now. Because I remember before, Steph Curry would always get injured. He would always get injured either had to do with his ankle or his knees. I mean, he was like an injury-prone Derrick Rose at the time. But
Yeah.
now he's a lot more healthier. I mean, and he's playing out of his damn mind. I mean, he's playing like somebody done stole his pretty pebbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's playing at a pretty good MVP level. And speaking of MVP, there was an interview about from James Harden. I think they interviewed him was last week, I think, or about 2 weeks. I think it was probably last week. But he was saying that that he should be MVP because he's done enough to win it. Do you honestly think that he should be the man to be the MVP, especially after acting like he acts like the way how cocky he sounded? Do you honestly think that he would deserve that award?
You're talking about Westbrook or Harden?
Harden.
Well,
That,
I mean,
I meant to say James Harden. Yeah, James Harden.
oh, okay. Well, James Harden, obviously, yeah, he scores a lot of points, but he scores most of his points at the free throw line. It's not like this guy makes all his shots. All his scoring comes from the line, and to me, that's not impressive. And what's more impressive is someone. The only guy that really impressed me that wasn't, obviously, was Kobe Bryant. Mainly because of the way he made his shots. When he was healthy, he could make a lot of hard shots. And he earned almost all those shots. Even with the great defenders on him, he would somehow make them. He would adjust his body in the air, make shots that looked impossible, and they would go in. I don't see James Harden doing those types of shots. I see flopping. I see complaining. I see beard hair, facial hair follicles growing. I see MVP, more like MVF, most valuable follicles. How about he get that?
Oh my.
Because all I see is flopping from that guy. If you a lot of times he'll drive into the lane, he'll flare his arms in the air, act like he gets hit. I mean, that's not even a foul. That's him acting. That's him, overselling the call. If players are gonna do that, they shouldn't even be awarded. Because if you're gonna get fouled, let the guy hit you, but don't just throw your hands up and make it seem like you got fouled when really you didn't. I mean, James Harden could go try out right now for any high school musical play, and he'd make it with his great acting skills. He'd make any theater arts program look good. You could put him in on Broadway, and he'd fit like a glove. The guy flops so much, he should be given Academy Awards every year for flop of the year. It's ridiculous, And I like how Houston Rocket fans say, "Oh, he never flops." Saying James Harden doesn't flop is like saying, Gillette doesn't give a man the best shave. That's like going to the Men's Warehouse and saying, "You're not gonna like the way you look." I don't guarantee it. I mean, come on.
Oh man, that's really stuff you come up with. Oh man, no, but you know what? I think the true MVP would be after.
It was Curry. It was Curry. It was Stephen Curry. Yeah, I mean,
Steph Curry got MVP.
it's Curry.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah,
What?
it's Stephen Curry. Yeah, he's gonna win it.
I think
Yeah.
without doubt Steph Curry because with the
Yeah.
way he's played this year, I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, he broke his own record. He already has around 280, I think about 288 or 289 threes out of from this season for this season.
Yeah.
And man, and it's true because with the way he's playing, I wouldn't even be surprised. I mean, and he is a 3-point champion. He's a 3-point champion, and I mean, what's next? I mean, shoot, him being the season MVP. I mean, all he has to do now is just to add a championship and a Finals MVP, and he's already had
He's
one
up there.
he's ever.
Yeah. And anybody that says, I know there's always arguments about, certain players don't have as many rings as other players, but this is what I always tell people. If it's not about the rings, then what are you playing for?
Exactly. What are you playing for? Are
Yeah, I can understand there's some players that never won a ring, and they were good players, they were great players, some make the Hall of Fame, but I guarantee you, that if you could trade all those points in, all those milestones, all those blocks, all those assists and steals, and everything that those players have on their stat sheets. If you ask somebody, would you trade all that in for a championship? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say yes. So I don't even want to hear anybody say that rings don't matter because that's a lot of baloney. Only, the only people that say that are the ones that don't ever win anything. Of course they're going to say that because they want to make themselves feel better about the situation that they're in. That doesn't mean it's true. That's like saying, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches aren't great for after school snacks because I hate peanut butter and jelly. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
I love peanut butter and jelly. I love it as a snack.
Yeah, I know. So if somebody says that, I mean, they're obviously hating. That's not an effect. That's an opinion. So, people that say, well, rings don't matter. Oh, but it matters because, and I like it how people say that rings don't matter for the players, but yet when we're talking about the greatest coaches of all time, and it's, Red Auerbach, Greg Popovich, to me, is already, he's better than Phil Jackson. I don't care what anybody says. Pop is better than Phil Jackson because Pop develops his players. I don't care how many championships Phil Jackson's have. And if anybody wants to argue or make that debate, well, I'm just going to go back to the players' debates. Well, hey, everybody always says that rings don't mean anything, right? Okay, well, in this situation, let's just take away all the championships from all the coaches. Who's the better coach, Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich? Greg Popovich. He develops his players. Phil Jackson, the only thing he can develop is a love relationship right now with his current girlfriend, the Lakers owner, Jeannie Buss. That's the only thing he's developing is a relationship. He ain't developing nothing. Greg Popovich has developed players. He can literally pick a guy off the street, turn him from a nobody to a somebody to a damn, that boy good.
That's what we've been talking about, Thomas. That's what we've been talking about. Everyone thinks that we're full of crap, that we don't know what we're talking about, that we're just a bunch of idiots. It shows it right there. It shows, and everyone's getting recognized. Patty Mills gets recognized, Boris Diaw gets recognized, Aaron Baines, Marco Bellinelli. All these guys, who haven't even really been in the All-Star in the All-Star game are getting recognized because Pop knows of what to do with the players. What they need to do, what the position is, how they need to defend, what play they need to. It's all basic fundamental basketball, and this game it's not about all these fancy ass dunks. It's not about lob dunks. It's not about like crossovers or like breaking someone's ankle. It's not about that. All it is just basic basketball. And you know what? When it comes to basic fundamental basketball, when you're just practically just moving the ball around, at the time, that's how Popovich learned the system about basic basketball because of the Celtics. Because in the 1980s, the 1980s Boston Celtics, that team, they weren't just dunking. I mean, they were playing actual Celtics basketball. That was around that time when they had Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, all these great Celtics legends. They had a system that now that the Spurs were learning from the Celtics, because all the mainly was just keep passing the ball, just passing until somebody got open, and if nobody got open, hey, they would still keep moving the ball until somebody got open to take the shot, and that's why they won so many championships, and now that's why the Spurs are winning. They've been winning championships too, 5 championships. They have 5 to the name, and they're going for 6. They're going for 6. And mainly all they got to do is just keep playing that same fundamental basketball that won them the title last year. That's all. That's mainly all what it's about. But no, it's these punk kids these days now that, yeah, our team wins because we're dunking. No, all these, it's, and you know what? And it's true what you said too, because I know you talked about this before. The NBA is just all popularity. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It's all just about just one player in every, or even two players in every team. I just, if there was kids who were at our age when we were younger who actually watched basketball and knew how basketball was really played, they would understand the game more. But no, it's always just about these fancy lob dunks and all this other nonsense. But the kids,
Yeah.
nowadays, I mean, they'll never learn how basketball is really played, other than just throwing up lobs, or just dunking the ball, because that's not what basketball is about.
And it's okay to have fun, and but at the same time, you have to understand how to play the game. You know, some, what are you going to do in a situation if you can't throw a lob? What are you going to do in a situation where if a team makes you play half court basketball and all you can do is run in transition and score? You're going to lose. Basketball is a simple game, and some people make it more complicated than what it is, but it's a very simple game. If you keep it simple, you'll win. If you try to get fancy, most times you're going to turn over the ball and you're going to lose. You know, I you know, I know a lot of times when I'm playing in pickup games, a lot of people will try to throw the ball between my legs. I already know they're going to do it, and as soon as I see them doing it, I close my legs and it's a turnover for them. I mean, this isn't the and one. You're not going to get away with it. I know all the tricks in the book. Same thing when you're playing against the Spurs. They understand how to play the game, and that's why they've won this many championships. It's not by luck. It's not by magical spells that they cast upon the basketball. It's just great teamwork. And a lot of these MVP players, they wouldn't even be MVPs if it wasn't for their teammates. So they should be crediting their guys for helping them get that award.
You know what? Speaking of players helping other team, helping the team, helping the player get that MVP award. I know we've seen some stuff about how Tim Duncan was carried by the Spurs throughout the five championships.
Yeah, yeah, that's anybody who thinks that should be slapped across the face, five across the lips, Fred Sanford style. I mean, it's if you believe that, then you're a born dummy. uh, it's a team game. Without Parker, the Spurs wouldn't have won. Without Ginobili, they wouldn't have won. Without Duncan, they wouldn't have won. Without David Robinson, they wouldn't have won. Without Sean Elliott, without everybody doing their parts, their plays, the Spurs wouldn't have won. It's a team effort. It's a team game. Anybody who thinks, oh, well, it was one player. If it was one player, they wouldn't need the other four guys on the court. A lot of people are really stupid. It amazes me how dumb this world has gotten. No wonder the aliens don't visit the planet. Maybe if they moved the space station to San Antonio, they'd come visit us more often because they have a problem with Houston. Why don't we just move the space station, orbit it around the Earth, and just have it, just move NASA somewhere else because they're not landing in Houston. They have problems in Houston. They see James Harden's beard and it scares them away. It's like they don't want to interact with us humans. And the aliens, they're probably just looking at this planet. Look at these guys who think they're the shit. We have all this technology up here, and all they got down there is beards. So, I mean, yeah, and if anybody believes that it was only Tim Duncan, they just don't know basketball. It's more than Tim Duncan. It's more than one player. He can't win it by himself. No one can. It's been proven time and time again. Even the caveman needed a will, for crying out loud. You can't get to one cave to another without a wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. All right, Thomas. Well, we're gonna have to end the show. Gonna get ready for tomorrow night's game. Game one of the 2015 Western Conference quarterfinals between the defending NBA champion San Antonio Spurs against the Los Angeles Lakers. But the first two games will be.
Oh, you mean the Clippers?
Yeah. I'm sorry, the Clippers. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. All right, Thomas. Well, thank you for joining in, talking Spurs basketball. Is there anything?
Anytime.
You comment?
All I can say is, go Spurs, go, and let's get game one.
Hell yeah! Hey Thomas, are you all fired the hell up for tomorrow night's game?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah!
Like a fireball from Super Mario.
Alrighty, Spurs fans. I want to thank Tom the Spurs Dude, who all the way from Corpus Christi. Thank you, Thomas, once again for being on my show and talking Spurs basketball.
Anytime, man.
And Spurs fans, are you ready for Spurs basketball? Because Tom the Spurs Dude and the masked Spurs Nation 87, sure as hell are ready for tomorrow night's game. All the Spurs got to do is just play Spurs basketball. That's all they got to do to beat this Clippers team. So we will see y'all after game one. And until then,
go Spurs, go!